brainstorm and just get ideas of what our chatbot would want to do, if it's basic, if it is complex, and then we'll think through the design. And thanks to Ken again, he shared the document. I hope you guys got some time to read and go through that document. By and large, that's exactly what we'll be doing. After the brainstorming session, then Ken will take us through his notebook. And then, yeah, if someone has questions and commitments, you could ask. Immediately after the FAQ questions, then there will definitely be another work to be done the next week. All right, over to you, Lillian.
So hi guys.
Hi.
As I was mentioned, I tried to do some bits of data cleaning. Yeah. Yes, I think that's what I can say for now. So I won't run the codes, but I'll. Oh yeah, so I won't run the codes for now, because I think there's something I did and it's taking a bit of time to load.
Okay.
So I may not do that. Okay. All right, so we can start. So I hope you guys can see my screen, and I hope I am audible enough.
Yes.
And if you want to ask anything, if you're not clear, just unmute and feel free to just stop me as I go on. All right. So top of my screen, I just explain what the project is about and the flow of the notebook. I think it's good as a data scientist to always label your work, because you might share your work with people who are not data scientists as well. And yeah, so that whoever is going to do maybe the modeling can pick from here. It will be very easy for them to read my work. Yeah, so the flow will be, we read the data, we'll clean the data, and then do EDA. So number 4, 5, and 6 won't be done today. I think that will be done with another team. All right, I'll just delve right in. So the first step you do, even before you do anything, is import libraries. And that, especially if it's NLP, I'd say there are 4 major ones. The first 4, I think you can see the first 4. I usually put this no matter what, like it's just a thing. Yes, when you're doing NLP, or yes, NLP especially. But these 2, NumPy and Pandas, are common when you're doing anything Python related. So basically, the first thing is to import these libraries. As you become better, you learn to write them without looking. But when you're starting, I guess it's okay to copy paste, but it's good to like understand what each does. Yeah, so I imported these libraries. Yeah, so I imported those libraries, and then you run them. And then the second bit is, since I'm using Colab, I imported the data from my desktop. Is there anyone who does not know how to import data? I can demonstrate. Is there anyone? All of us know how to import the data.
Lillian, what was your question? You asked whether there is anyone who doesn't know how to do what?
To import, like to load the data onto Colab and then put it here, like this part here.
Well, no, that's okay.
It's okay. All right, sawa. So in case you don't know, because I know I think when I started coding, hey, this took me. Hey, this one took me a bit. I used to wonder where data is coming from. I used to be like, is it on the drive? Is it on the, like, I used to feel like there's magic going on. But for the sake of information, if you can see my screen, there's a place here called files. So there's a table of contents here. So I've labeled my content, so you can see reading data, cleaning, and EDA. And then there's this arrow-like things here, and then there's this part here that looks like a folder. So, and then there's this arrow thing here. So when you click on this, it's going to allow you to pick the data, which is this Twitter job hunter thing. Then it's good to know what your data set is, what type of file it is on. So ours is on CSV. So that means when I load here, I'll use pd.read_CSV. If it was in Excel, I'd have said XLS. If it was JSON, I'd have said JSON, PDF, depending. So yeah, so ideally I'll just copy this path here, and then I'll paste it here. So I'll write it here and paste it, and then I'll run. So that's how you import data.
A question.
So, yes, go on.
If it's within the scope, what if you're getting it from a URL?
URL.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually a bit easier. So assuming I had say URL here, and then it's maybe from Wikipedia or something, whatever, I'd just come here and say, so most of the time, actually, it's very easy to read URL using CSV, but you can actually do, I think the ones I've done with URL, I've actually had to just copy paste the HTTP, the link, and copy paste it here, or actually use the URL instead. So pd.read_CSV into bracket URL, and it's always worked for me.
So thread, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yes, I get. Yeah. So that's actually URL. So it's also pretty easy to read. I guess before I send this, I'll try and see. I think I have a notebook where I've done using a URL. I'll see if I can share that as well. Yeah. So because this is cleaning mostly, I'll delve on the, I'd say, basic stuff, but stuff that are they're basic, but they're critical. Yeah. And I don't think you'll ever learn these things. I've learned them the hard way, so I wouldn't want anyone else to learn the way I learned. The other thing before we move on is, so there's libraries, like Pandas is a library, and then you'll be seeing things like from like here from Plotly, import graph. So there's libraries, there are libraries, there are modules, and there are packages. So a library contains many packages. Then a package contains many modules, and then a module is like a single file. So a library has the entire, so we say import pandas as PD, we're importing the entire library. So it will come with a lot of things that we can use. So that's the difference. So there's libraries. So that's why it's easy to import libraries, because some of these things will be imports. Yes. So just to explain the difference between those things. Yeah, so you hear people saying, do you have that package? Do you have that library? They're all from the same group of people. Yeah. But the main ones we have, like I think when you will do modeling, you'll see some, like Skilllearn is very big. So just be importing some packages and not the entire library from Skilllearn. You'll be seeing from this import, those are packages. Yeah, I think that's the difference. So yeah, so I went ahead, and this is pretty easy. So I went ahead and viewed the head. So if you say head into bracket, it usually gives you the first 4 rows minus the column. Again, I previewed the tail just to look at what we are having here. And yeah, so from this, I can see we have the date and time, text, source, hashtag, favorite country, tweets. I didn't know what 6 and 7 were. And then there was submit a name. So as we go along, maybe we'll try and discover what those were. So the next thing you want to do after you've loaded your data and you've previewed. So why is it important to preview? Sometimes you can preview data and you realize maybe it was separated now. Maybe it's separated with hashtags or any, so it's very untidy. So if that's the case, you'd want to use a function called delimiter. So you'll use it here. So if let's say we had maybe commas that means we can't do any operations on our data. So you have your comma here, and then you say delimiter, then you say is equals, and then if it's commas, you remove commas. And this is common in CSV. If you've ever used Excel, Excel usually asks you to remove them from the one. So that's the point of previewing data, just to see, like from what you have, I think our columns are okay. So we don't need to eliminate anything. And sometimes it can be colons or whatever those things are. So that's the importance of reading your data, and also to make sure that you're reading the same, you're on the right track, because this could be data from something else. Yeah. So this step is simple, but it's always very important. Then the next thing you want to do is you want to look at the shape of your data. So you want to understand like how many columns and how many rows you have. So there's a very simple formula here. It's called shape. So you just say, you mention the name of your data frame. So ours is df_tweet.shape, and then it gives you the number. So from here, we can see we have 9 columns and almost 30,000 rows. So that's a good data set to work with. Then the next thing you want to look at is data types. And this is very important, especially when you're modeling. There are some models, but this is NLP. So, but there are models, if we were doing regression, that you can only use numerical data types. So if we were doing anything modeling, we wouldn't use date and time because it's an object. So that means you'd have to convert it into a numeric data type so that it can be processed. So it's always good to check your data types. So from this, we can conclude that we have, so this one's here, 1, 2, 3, 4. So these ones are numeric. And then it's also good to know the difference between numeric data types and categorical data types. Is there anyone who knows the difference? And those are very important, especially when you're doing classification.
Let me go.
All right.
Numeric are more of numbers that don't have like a specific holding place. It's only a value by number. While categorical is kind of holding like classes, like different baskets of different things. That's like
a nice try. That's a good one. Anyone else?
And try.
Yeah.
So for numeric, any numeric variable has continuous numbers. They can be integers or floats. But for a categorical variable, it usually has either ordered or unordered lists within the variable. Like you can have a 1 representing a yes, or a 0 representing a no. So a categorical variable has, as he said, classes. Yeah, I don't want to say categories.
Yeah. So both those are really good attempts. When you're doing classification, your label will always be categorical. So you'll always have something like true or false, male or female. So that's categorical. It's not continuous. It's discrete in nature. So numerical is continuous, and you can perform arithmetic functions with numerical data. It's always good to know your data types, because this is very important when you're modeling, and you'll see that later as we model why this is very important. So data types is something that we always want to look out for. So once you've done that, so we've at least understand the basic nature of our data set, so you can go ahead and start cleaning. So the first thing you want to clean is missing values. It's very there are models you can't work with if you have null values. It's going to give you errors. So the first thing you want to do before you start any even EDA is you make sure you don't have missing values. So you will use a very simple function here. It's called isNull. So yeah, so you say df .tweet.isNull into brackets .sum. So why I like this one is because it gives you a summary of your columns and the number of data that is missing. So it's very simple to read that. So from this function here, we can see that date, text, 0 means they don't have missing values. Source has 214. Hashtag has the highest number at 25,000. And then 6 and 7 have around 7,000. And then retweets have around 2,500. So usually off the bat, if a column like this one has like more than half of it, or a huge percentage of this data of this column is empty, the easiest thing to do is drop. However, because I'm not the one who's modeling, I wasn't so sure how important hashtag is to our analysis. So I decided not to drop it because it might be an important column, depending on where we feel our model should go to. Yeah, because it's hashtags that have to do with work, job hunting and stuff like that. So in that case, I decided to fill it. So I said anything that is null, I'll fill it with, just down here, no tag. So anything that was 0, I filled it with no tag, and then the rest are the hashtags. But ideally, I would have dropped it. It's just that I think it might be an important column. So those are the things you make, assumptions you make as you go along. So it's not every time you just want to drop automatically. But if it was something like, let's say, submitter's name, I would have just dropped it because I don't think that is a very important column for now. So I didn't drop that. So I actually filled it. But for the rest of this, 7,000 can actually drop these records. They're not so many, and our model would still be okay. So I dropped the rest of them. So I used a function called drop NA. So the first one I used is fill NA. That's for filling, and then you specify what you want to do. And the next one is I dropped, and then I confirmed if all my data has been filled. And from this, you can see everything is 0. So that means I have dropped the empty columns. And then the different ways of dropping. So mine is very simplistic, but sometimes you can have a specification where you say don't drop records if maybe only one of them is missing. So you'd want to do a function here called how. You want to say how, maybe you say all or something. So there's a function called how. If you guys can just go and look at it. So sometimes it's not just, because dropping here means anything that had a missing value was dropped, but sometimes you want to say maybe you only want to drop rows that have more than 2 columns that are missing in that row. So again, you can manipulate that function. But here I just dropped in everything. And then I went ahead to check the shape of the new data sets. So as you can see, we have 9 columns and around 23,000 rows, which is still a good data set to work with. So the next thing you want to check is if there are any duplicates. So initially when I ran this, there were actually, when I ran this code initially, there were duplicates, and it had told me here true. True means they're there. So I had to drop those duplicates, and then upon dropping, it told me it's false. So as you can see, on top here, we have 22,865 rows, but down here we have 22,807. So it means some records have been dropped because they're duplicates. So it's always good to check those things. So the first thing you want to do is, first of all, deal with missing values, and you want to check if there are any duplicates in your data so that you don't have confusing data. Yeah. And then the other thing you want to do is outliers. So if you don't deal with outliers, your data is going to be imbalanced. And when you're using an imbalanced data set, your model will have usually it has a high variance, and I think high variance leads to overfitting, and it's not good for a model. So you also want to deal with outliers. So here I imported. So this is a package from Skippy import stats. So I didn't want the entire library, so I just needed this package. So I imported that package. It's very good with dealing with outliers. So from my data, I have outliers, so I just went ahead and did that. And then down here, I dropped them, and then I want to confirm if I have dropped them. So I did both data sets there. So Z is greater than 2. I don't know how to explain what Z is.
That's the
But I
Z
know it's a Z score. Yes, it's a Z. No, I don't know how to explain what a Z score is, but it's a very useful. It's used for normalizing data in statistics. The Z score, your T score. So we mostly use, especially if your data is above 30. If our data was below 30 records, we would have used a T score. But since it's way above 30, a Z score is fine. Yeah. Again, for more information, I think you want to, if you don't know what Z scores do, I think it's very important to do those things. To learn. It's basic stats, but it's very useful when you're doing data science projects. Yeah. So yes, I guess that's there. And then I feel like from here now I was able to dive into cleaning. Although just given this data here, as you'll see, I think I left them because I think we might do a feature selection in modeling, if I'm not wrong. So I wanted to see how these rows will compete. But if that's not the case, I would have dropped submitter's name. I feel like we won't use it. I would have dropped 6 and 7. I still don't know what 6 and 7 are. And yeah, I'd keep source for now. Date and time, again, you don't want to drop things quickly because you don't know where the model will go to. If let's say you're working for a client, maybe the client will be like, want to know maybe what time of the year these hashtags were popular, or traffic, something like that. So your date and time would be very important. So for that reason, I didn't drop any of my columns. But again, these are judgment calls, depending on what your assignment is. If a client is specific, or if you're doing a specific task, you can go ahead and drop a lot of things. Someone else might say, I want to know who submitted what. I want to know who was in charge of what data. So again, or you want to group data based on someone who submitted, so things like that. So again, these are judgment calls. You can drop them if they're not relevant to you, or you can keep them depending, but they don't affect anything for now. So yeah, so we went ahead to cleaning the text. So because this is an NLP, just going up here, I'm sure we'll be dealing with the text a lot. This column here, text, and my gut feeling is that we will also use retweet. But I don't know where, like I said, I don't know where the model is headed. So we'd have to see, because there are different people who will be doing different modeling techniques. So we want to see what their direction is about. And I think Ayub said after this, you can discuss like what you exactly want to do with this data. But I guess but I know the text will be very important. And the retweet and the hashtag, I think. Those are things I tried to clean a bit. Yeah, depending on where this assignment is going. So the first thing I did, I changed all my columns headers into lowercase. Why? Because sometimes it's very hard to keep on copy pasting, and then sometimes you don't know where you're. Like you see, this submitter's name is small letter. This retweet is caps lock. So don't want to keep on getting errors. So I just used sorry, maybe go down here. So I just used a map function, and then I use string.lower. So str means string, and then lower is for lowercase. And then I went ahead and changed those to lower cases. Yeah, so that's the first thing I did. And then the second thing I did is I wanted to remove white spaces, commas, and stuff like that. But then you'll see down here, I've gone into specific. So you'll see down here, I've gone specifically into the column text and just cleaned it more intensely. So maybe I can just go to the text one first. So this is where these strings come in. I know they're up there, but I just decided to put them down here just so that you can see like where these libraries are used. So this is one of the places where they're used when you're trying to clean your text, especially your column, which is a string in nature. Yes, or is in character nature. Sorry?
Just a moment.
Yeah.
Could you scroll up a bit? The question on the map. Which library can I get map?
I think map is one of those ones that come with pandas, if I'm not wrong, because I've never had to import anything when I use pandas and NumPy. Yeah, so I think it's just part of the wider Python.
Oh, okay. So it's part of the Python.
Yeah, and I think one of the ways you'd know if a function is inside is when you type it, it changes color. I think that's one of the ways, like string. If I type string, turns. Like that's how I've always known like that function is there.
So for map, it does the first the variables the argument is it arguments or variable that it has. The string lower is the action, and then
and
the
then
columns where
the columns, yes.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
I think it works almost similar to an iloc function, but I think iloc is mostly used when you're indexing. Yeah. Yes, but basically map functions work well when you want to map, or when you want to, sometimes when you want to convert, let's say you have a categorical variable and you want to convert it to numerical. Let's say, for example, you have a variable that has male and female, but you're trying to do a model that, let's say you're trying to do a PCA, you're trying to use any statistical model which can take in male and female. So you can use a map function to change male into, so you say male is equals to 0, female is equals to 1. So it's going to go to specifically to that column and change, and it won't affect your entire data set. Sometimes when you use other features to change the nature of your data type, it affects your entire data set. So map is one of those you can use if you just want to change a specific data, but you don't want it to affect the rest of your columns. So it actually accurately maps it. Yeah.
Could you please scroll slowly without you keep on moving up and down? It's kind of making me lose the point we are at.
Sawa. All right. Just let me know if you. Okay, sawa. So that's mapping. So again.
Another one.
Sorry, yeah, go on.
Mine is on the Z score. Why specifically did we say Z less than 2? Why the 2? Is it the critical value or what is 2?
So people use different things. I've seen people using 3. I think most people use 2 or 3. It's not very. It's not. I wouldn't say it's specific. You must use 3, but again, yes, it depends on what you're trying to look for. I tried 3, but I don't think it gave me a really good answer, so I decided to go on 3. Sorry, on 2. I'm trying to explain. Sometimes I think I know things, but I don't know how to use English on it.
I could try on that.
You can actually try on that, yeah. But yeah. I know what it means.
Yeah, let me try. That was Henry, yes?
Yes.
Henry, in outlier detection, there's something called the lower boundary and the upper boundary. So as Lillian says, the guys who normally statistically there is a provision if you want to use lower boundary on both sides of the mean, because what happens is, let me start from there. So Z-score, what it does is it checks how far that data point is from the mean, how many standard deviation it is from the mean. So you might be wondering, we're dealing with NLP, and do we have mean? So it looks at, yes, in NLP we also have those. So calculating the standard deviation, the Z-score, the lower boundary you multiply by 1.5 and the upper boundary, then it spans out to 3. So this is just, these are standard boundaries defined by a statistician. The genius guys who are ahead of us, they decided that you need to use this value. So I think it's by default. I don't know if that makes it a bit clear.
Yes, I think it's the way we use p-value is less than 0.05.
Yes,
it's actually that.
Yes.
Okay, so thank you.
Yes, and then of course, if you want to get into the detail, you'll ask me, is it a one tail, is it a two tail? Yeah, so you can get into all those details, but yes.
Question. But my question is, do you mean the 2 is the lower boundary or what?
So I've said Z is greater than.
Less
this is the sorry, less than 2. Yeah. So. Oh my God! I have the graph in my head.
Yeah.
I wish I could draw this thing for you guys.
Maybe if I can just
the distribution. I'll look for it. One day I'll draw this thing. The next time I think I'll come with a board, then I'll explain.
Brian, there's something
someone can give it. I wanted to share.
So I was saying, like, the Z-score, this one is a positive one. So we are talking about like it's greater than the mean. So as we are looking at it as a normal distribution, we don't want to go so far away from the mean. That's why I think she took less than 2.
Yeah.
Because if you go to less than 3, you see you are deviating far away from the mean.
Yeah, and then like I said, I actually had tried 3, and then I tried 2. Then I was like, 2 works. So some of these things, it's it's trial and error. I won't lie to you. Some of these things.
What was the mean?
Sorry?
What was
I forgot to do. I didn't forget. I was supposed to do a DF describe somewhere here. Let me see if I can do it here. I don't know whether I've loaded my data. I want to do mean. What do you call that thing? I want to do what do you call this thing? DF. I don't think. I hope this thing is going to run. Tanipatia error. This means my library, my what? I need to run these things again. So this is the disadvantage of using Colabs. Runtime disappears.
I think someone mentioned that. Someone mentioned that in the group. Was it Eric or Eric?
They kind of have to come
yeah. Mostly even all notebooks, the minute you close them, the runtime always clears.
Yeah.
You have to run all of it.
I think it's because you're using your Gmail. I feel like if you pay for it, maybe, I don't know. I'll try and use like a paid Gmail account and see. Or is there anyone who's tried?
But doesn't that make it be running all the time?
Yeah.
But you've paid for it.
Well,
I think it's...
yeah, but it's the same as probably you are paying for a specific space function.
Oh God. Yeah.
But then when you run it, if it keeps on running, it might be consuming more memory or something.
Oh yeah, so actually you can use describe, like the way we just say you want to describe your you want to see your measures of central tendencies. So you can use the function describe. If you don't use brackets, it's going to be very ugly. But if you put brackets, it's like it summarizes your work. So sometimes when you just go on.
Oh, I wanted to ask, meaning the column that you used for calculating the Z-score was Which feature did you use? Which column did you use to calculate the Z-score?
I used retweets.
Oh, okay.
I used
okay.
retweets.
All right.
I know why you guys are asking. I did not use tweets because tweets is not. Actually, that's the thing. Tweets is not, as you can see on my describe. Tweet is string. Also, it's good to know your data. And like I said from the beginning, I thought my initial thought was I want to see what type of tweets or hashtags get retweets. I think that's my understanding. But like I said, when you get to modeling, we can decide to take a different tangent depending on what we decide to build. So I decided to use retweet here. Again, this is stats, so you can't use you cannot use a column that is not a float or an integer. Yeah, so that's why I used retweets here. That was my main aim as to why. I didn't know what favorite count was going to do for me, and I also didn't know what, like I said, I still don't understand what 6 and 7 are. Maybe the guys who script the data can help us understand what it is. In my opinion, I was going to drop it at some point, but for the sake of this session, I decided to use them all here.
If I may ask now again, we go back to the 2, because I can see with the mean it's 2.5.
Oh yeah, let's try 3.
And now that confuses me even much, because I can also see that at 75%, that's the third quartile, that's 1.
Yeah.
But then at 25, that's 0, which
0
means
and then 50 is 0.
most of our data is above 50%. From the, actually it's past the mean. So the mean goes to 2.5.
So if I use 3, just a minute.
Used to.
I don't know, but I don't know why it looks, this is not what I.
There's a few.
It's funny, but there's a reason why I changed to, because my initial one was actually using 3. I'd used 3 initially, and then I changed to 2.
So now, is there 2 like standard deviation or something?
There's someone who explained it very well. Yes, it's how far away you are from the mean. So it's not necessarily. I don't think it's not necessarily 2 because at mean is 2.5. If you had that graph, it's like 2 steps away. I don't know if I'm explaining it vizuri.
Yeah, if
the standard deviation.
Yeah.
The number.
Yeah. Because standard deviation is like steps.
It's not because the mean is 2.5. So this is automatically 2 or 3. That's not, at least from what I know, that's not the correct interpretation.
Normally, if you want to detect an outlier, if, for instance, you could pick 3. If you get a Z-score of greater than 3, that is definitely an outlier. If it is less than 3, you could consider that as not an outlier. So the choice of 2 or 3, it's normally dependent on the ML engineer, but it's provision.
Okay, and does it more of cut on both sides of the normal distribution curve?
Yes, it does.
Yeah, it does. But then again, this goes back to what statistician would ask you: is it a one-tailed? Is it a two-tailed? And then this will go into what your question is. So, like, I don't think we have defined what our question is. I think there's a project I did on YouTube, and it was a two-tailed test because of how we defined our null value and our alternative. But then again, in the industry, people use two tails most of the time. And usually that comes when you're trying to make a case from your questions that you've defined. But on this one, it really doesn't matter whether it's two-tailed, one-tailed. Yeah. So I'd say that comes in when you're trying to, like when you're trying to answer a research, or when you're doing a research paper.
Would it be different if it was a two-tail? Like, how would it look like if it was a two-tail? How would that line of code look like if it was a two-tail?
Yeah, just a minute. One boy.
Sorry? Yeah.
You see, I think you've used a two-tails because in line 11, you see you're looking, the Z is the absolute value.
Yes, yes.
So the negatives will be positive, meaning when you're saying 2, it's just the same way if you say it, if Z is less than 2 or greater than -2.
I'm trying to answer logically. If someone actually asks me, is it a two-tailed or a one-tailed, I would want to sit down and ask myself, at the end of the day, what am I trying to answer? Because that's how you define a two-tailed or a one-tailed.
Hello. Excuse.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm just trying to structure that in my head. Yeah, but go ahead.
Sorry for disrupted. How would you define then a one-tail and differentiate a one-tail and two-tail?
So a one-tail is I'm trying to think of a hypothesis question, because that's how you define it from the word go, like from your research question. Wait, if you say greater than, if your if you say if your alternative is greater than or less, if you have one sign, actually yes, so if you have one sign, that means it's a one-tailed, right? I hope I'm correct. But if you have two signs, oh my god.
Actually, you are correct.
Yes, if you have one sign, that means it's a one-tailed. So you're saying it's less than, like here Z is less than 2. But if I'd say Z is less than or equal to 2, what that means is, yes, actually yes. If it's one sign, that's a one-tail. And it means you can, ukichora hiyo distribution, hiyo curve, una shade side moja. Lakini kama ni two-tailed, una consider hiyo data iko hapo katikati peke yake. Hizo zingine unatoa. Am I making sense?
Maybe you can add on what you're saying.
But that's a difference.
Yes, Henry.
On what
Okay.
Yes, Henry, go ahead.
Okay. Just what on what Tromboy is saying. When we are talking about one tail or two tail, let's say for example we have sample data and we want to test if our sample data, let's say we have a specific figure or value. Let's say we have a mean of let's say 5. So we would talk of our null hypothesis as mean is equals to 5. Our alternative, when we say mean is less than 5, now we'll go for a one tail. But if we say our alternative hypothesis mean is not equal to 5, now we'll go for a two tail, because we will be looking at greater or less than.
So you're saying based on the signs, yeah, you're right actually, but if you were to write it down as a sign, you'd say, so if you say, so if I say,
the null would be,
if I say Z is less than 2, is that a one tail or a two tail?
That's a one.
That's
but
a one
if
tail.
I was to say my hypothesis, my null hypothesis is X is equals to 5, then my alternate hypothesis will have, if it lands in either higher or less than 5, that's a two tail. So I'm looking to make sure that X is not equals to 5.
Exactly, and which I think was it Eunice who mentioned where I used the absolute figure, whereby it captures both sides, the negative and the positive.
Yeah, because by looking at this, if all are absolute, like if I was creating a curve it will mean it will either be skewed toward one side. There will be a skewness because all the negatives will move to the positive. So it will not have like the center being, the mean being at 0.0, but it will be somewhere between 0 and whichever higher number than 0.
Okay.
Well,
but I guess my...
Can I contribute?
Yeah, go on, yeah, sure.
So, okay, thanks, Lillian. So, I think just to add on what somebody had said, I think this covers both sides to prevent us dropping outliers only on one side, because an outlier is a data can be considered to be an outlier if it's greater than 3 z-score or minus 3, right? So if we want to drop outliers on both sides, we would say we are dropping anything greater than 3 and anything less than minus 3. So in this case, we've removed the minus by putting the on cell 11 where we have the ABS. So the minus becomes 3. Hence, when you say you dropping anything less than 2, it covers both on the positive and the negative side, meaning that your data is still normalized to, is still distributed with a mean of 0.
So that 3 is a standard deviation from the mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's not. It's so like someone was saying. It's not. It's points. It's steps.
It's the number of standard deviations.
Yes, the number of, that's it. It's the number of standard deviations. It's not.
Oh, makes more
yes,
sense now.
it's not at our standard deviation is 3. It's the number
from the mean.
From the mean, yes, it's the number of deviations from the mean. So if you're to use a z-score, if you guys know the formula for z-score, mean minus u over. Okay. Clearly I can't remember that class, but yes, if you use that formula, the basic formula, you'd see how that works. Yeah.
Lillian, there's another question by Dan.
Yeah.
Considering these are tweets,
Okay.
what was the idea behind dropping the outliers? There's a question on the WhatsApp.
So I think Ayub had tried to explain that. Because these are models, regardless of whether, because mostly we're used to regression and all those things, but all models are statistical in nature. So there are basic rules that apply to models. And the first one is you don't want to use data that has null values. It will distort. Like some models don't pick that. Similar case to what you were saying about outliers, which you'll see when you do the models and try to train. If you don't remove outliers, your model will be skewed. It will have a very high variance, so it will overfit because of certain elements that have high. So outliers result into high variances. So what that means is your mean in a Songa, like a normally distributed data, the mean, mode and median should be around the same figure. That makes your data normally distributed. So that means when you're running any model, you won't have an imbalance in your data. So you'll always have, like, your model would be more accurate. But when you have outliers, you will tend to overfit. You tend to have a very low bias and a very high variance, which will lead to overfitting. And if you use that model, because the idea of this entire process is to come up with an ML algorithm. So what that means is you use this model to train other data sets. So you want to have a model that is not less fitting and not too fitting, so that it gives room to train other data sets. So in as much as tweets are texts, remember at the end of the day, this is statistics.
Yeah.
So whatever model you use, you're going to use statistics rules.
Absolutely.
So statistics applies, whether you see, and that's why it's good, like the way you guys are asking questions, why using Z-score. It's really good to understand like the foundation behind statistics. In as much as it doesn't speak out loud, it's going to be very useful when you're doing some of these projects. So I think that's my. I hope I've answered correctly.
Dan, I think.
Concern was now that for like in this case we focused mainly solely on the retweets column.
Yeah.
But we are dropping the tweets that zilikuwa na retweets mingi au kidogo. So what we doing that?
So okay, go on.
And we'll be modeling. When we'll be working on the model, we'll be only requiring the actual tweets, not the retweets.
To drop, we're not dropping and ilikuwa ati kama data ilikuwa na retweets 10, tuna drop. Let's say for example, normally a hashtag gets 2 or 3 retweets. Then there's one and then there's ina skip to 100. So tunaona hiyo 100 itakuwa inapata more score. So you want to drop those outliers, like you want to drop those extremes. Now maybe ilikuwa, because if you really investigate outliers, usually it's because of an anomaly or an event that caused it to have like it's very hard for you to have let's say these are job let's say job handles. So let's say they're used to getting a certain number of retweets, then one day it gets maybe 100 or 1,000, and then that day it's possible that maybe that day maybe something happened and then it trended. Like even in web traffic, if you've done anything to do with web traffic, sometimes you'll see, like if you're on the back end, if any one of you knows how to do Google Analytics, so usually when you have an anomaly like that, if you investigate further, because anomalies cause you to investigate, you'll realize there were externalities around it. Like it was just not a normal, it's not in the normal course of it to be waiting. So that's why when you're doing a machine learning algorithm, you want to remove that anomaly, because you'll use that algorithm to train another data set. So you can't train it when you have anomalies. What if the other one doesn't have an anomaly? I don't know if that. I'm trying to look for a real life example.
I could give an example using NLP.
Yeah.
I completely understand where Dan is coming from. Dan, if I give an example of using the same data set, if we did a word frequency of these texts, and now we plotted the mean and the median and actually calculated outliers based on the word frequency, then it would give you some sign of a text that has some abnormality. You immediately, that is one use case within NLP that you could use doing that analysis, where you look at the word frequency within the verbatim, the actual verbatim. So if a tweet had an abnormal number an abnormal number of hashtags or an abnormal number of the same word as compared to the rest, then you could detect and do whatever it is you want to do with that particular instance. But I completely understand. If I got your question right, Dan, your question was we will be modeling on the tweets, but we are detecting outliers on the retweets. Was that the question?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Like I think like I said, my direction was, but like I said, different people will do different models. So my first thought was that's why I didn't drop any columns. so that it's easy. Like depending on what someone might decide. Like my initial process was, I'd like to understand retweets. Like why is it some texts have higher retweets than so that's the direction I've taken, but someone else will take a different direction.
A different one, yes.
Yeah. So like I said, again, I think I initially mentioned even when we started, it's always good to understand what, I guess when I was doing this cleaning, we hadn't decided what exactly we are doing. But let's say if we decided to go a certain direction, even my EDA would have been in a certain direction. So again, business case here applies as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, or so someone else will pick this data and they'll do something completely different. That's a good thing about data science. It's very unstructured. People do different things. Like the same data can be used to do 10 or so models and come up with different things. Yeah. So this is just an example. Yeah.
Becky had a question, Lillian. She had her hand raised. I don't know if Becky.
Not a question, but a comment.
Okay.
Number one, Lillian, you're doing a great job. I've been in class and I have worked with people, but your explanation is very basic, simple, clear to understand.
Thank you.
With the standard deviation, I would say that, thank God, I have never had any class where we have to so extensively discuss it. But there's a table, and within that table, it moves from, it has a 1, 2, and 3. So it's actually a chart that you can get out there. And within the 1, 2, and 3, it's about the acceptable range. You can either pick the 68.3 or the 95.4 or the 99.7. So by the time you're getting to 99.7, remember it goes to 100%, from a 0 to 100%. So it's about that ranging. But you can get the chart from the net. But you're doing a great job. I'm actually
That's nice. And I just remembered something. Thanks for raising that. Industry norms. From the industry, I know people use 2 and 3 a lot. Sometimes it's crazy, but sometimes you'll ask something and people will tell you that's the industry norm. Like we'll do the models, you'll see we'll be splitting training and test. Most of the time it will be 80 and 20% or 70 and 30%. Again, why? That's the industry norm. So it's also good to put these things into consideration because stats can be very theoretical. And sometimes just bringing that into a business case requires a lot of so you hear people saying things like in the industry, I know people use 95% a lot because that's what people have worked with. That's what has mostly worked in the industry. So you'll do a lot of, and even when you're doing our P value, you see a lot of 5%. So the 95, the 5, or the 2.5% if it's a two tails. So again, the good thing about data science is that it's theory and it's practical as well. So again, that's the other bit about it. Yes. All right. So I guess we can proceed to cleaning. So like I said, so my idea behind this was I was looking at the text on the tweet and the retweets. So those are the two things I try to use. But so the good thing about this notebook, once I send this notebook, you can use these formulas to manipulate whatever column. So that's a good thing about sharing collabs. So you can use it to feel free to change things here and there, and I'll try and change some of the things here and there so that you can see how they're working. So I think I'd explained what a map function does. I'm not sure if I don't know who will be modeling, but we'll see if we can show you how to use a map function to change. It's a very good, like I said, it's a really effective function. It's a must-know function, especially when you have categoricals and or you have something and you want to change it. So it's really good for that. It maps perfectly and it does not affect your data set. So that's a good one to note. So this thing here, so this thing here, it looks hard, but it's not hard. So So I know there's for I, C, in enumerate. So enumerate is it's like iterating. All right, let me explain one by one. I'll try and explain one by one. So ideally, what like I've written here on my comments, what I was trying to do is to remove white spaces from both columns and rows and converting case to lowercase. So this formula is used when, especially when you're not doing NLP. So you just have a normal data set and you want to do maybe your regressions, your other things. So this is the basic one. But then the second one will come in. This is now the into detail one when you're cleaning, because this second one will show us into detail how we can clean text related content. But they're all the same thing. I wanted to delete one, but I said, you know what, we can display both. So like I said, there's a function called strip, replace, and lower. So you can guess lower means lowercase, replace. So this is the one for removing the white. So I'm very good with Excel as well. And so some of the things I see in Python, I'm like, that's Excel. So in Excel, when you want to quote something, but you don't want to say something, you usually use like quotes without saying anything. And then you pass a function by it. So I feel like they stole this from them as well. So ideally, this thing here will help us remove the white. So white spaces is spaces in between characters, and also remove the lowercase. So why I've done this second function is I wanted to iterate. So there's something called a for loop, and it's a very basic Python function, but it's very underestimated. And for loops, if statements, those things are very basic. The other day a friend of mine told me that an ATM machine is a combination of if, where, else, and print. I was so shocked. Those are like 4 codes in Python, but this guy makes so much money out of ATM. So I'd tell you, if you have time, go online and just Google loops in Python, and you're just going to learn, because the whole idea of loops is to help you iterate the same function without repeating yourself over and over again. And then when that condition has not been met, it stops. So that's the essence of having loops. Loops, and then for is very critical. For is like a container. I don't know how to put it, but for is basically used to store stuff for you, and then now you can pass a function. So I called so here I was very specific. Like I said, I wanted to deal with text, so I called my text function cat. You can call it any name, df, or whatever you want to call it, and then I pass that function and enumerate it. So the entire of text itatolewa. The things that I've defined upper Jews itatolewa. So you notice here initially df1 is just columns. df1.columns ni for all columns. But now down here I'm very specific on the text, because we'll be using texts. From my initial discussion, I said I was working with text and retweets a lot, but then again, this can change. If you wanted this for hashtag, we just need to rename this, and then you can use it for hashtags as well. So for loops, I'd say do for loops, if statements, else, ifs. They're not so hard to do, but they'll save you a lot of time, especially when you have like a lot of data. Yes. So you want to take some time and understand those. Like I think I'll see if I have a notebook. I've done so many notebooks. I'll see if I have a notebook that has those loops, and then I can maybe share those loops with you guys. And then just down here, sorry?
Before we leave that point,
yeah,
I'm totally confused with the enumerate. Like, how does it work really? I'm confused with that. Actually, this is the first time I've seen it.
So an enumerate is what's enumerating in English? Wait, what kizungu mko wapi? You can start from there. What's enumerate? No, seriously, the good thing about Python, if you ever asked why is Python better than other languages, is that it tries to use English.
It's like step by step, something like that.
Yes.
Wapi Wangoso?
One by one. Sindio. So it's like
Count.
iterating. So it's one by one. So this function is going to it run in all the records one by na itaifanya haraka sana. So that's why you use an enumerate, and it's a function. If you want to know it's a function, nikitoa hiyo I inakuwa black. So that's how you know, and it's a function in pandas.
While you are still there,
yeah,
you said cat is equals to text hapo juu.
Yeah, so
the text, are you calling it from the data frame?
Yes.
Yeah.
So you can call like that text.
Yeah.
Okay.
Huh?
Yes, you can.
How?
So I can replace this with any other column if I want to, because officially I've already done this here. These in my columns hapa, so I can just call it. Unataka niweke DF1?
Yeah, that's how I do it.
Oh, okay. So sorry.
Wasn't that
but you can.
Like defining?
Sorry?
The earlier one was more like creating a variable and giving it a string. I mean a list.
No. So what I've done is, so normally if we were not doing NLP, this will be the easiest way to remove white spaces and convert. Like on a normal day, just do that and then it works on it. But if you check our data, actually it's just down here.
Hold up. White spaces.
Yeah, like when you have spaces inside words, sometimes tweets. A tweet is very unstructured. Ati?
Isn't that the work of strip? It's supposed to remove the white spaces. And then I noticed you have used replace.
Yeah.
I think it's confused. Am I the one who's getting confused by, because I see, because if I was doing this, I wouldn't even need a string.
So you'll do what would you have done? Can you project? Can I allow you to project your screen and show me what you will have done?
I don't have a Jupyter open, but probably I can take control of your screen.
Okay, let me try and give you control. Approve. All right. Go ahead.
Okay. Let me hope this works. Okay. What happened?
Columns.
It will work without the str, the string, then strip.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna work without the string. Try and put just try and put string before strip and lower.
Okay. Let me try that.
String is a function, st strip dot, and then the other one. No, the other one as well, the lower. Remember, you're changing them to lowercase, so it's a string. It's not like words. So with Python, if you Python reads most of the things as integers. So sometimes you have to define.
So it's reading the columns as integers by themselves.
Yeah, so you have to define strip.
Okay, and then on this scenario, like this replace,
yeah,
I do understand this is the old and this is what is being replaced.
Yes.
So meaning if you are removing white spaces,
yeah,
this is already doing it. Unless now there is certain, let's say for example, there is an art that you want to remove.
yeah.
So this is the only time I think for me, this will work. This specific part would work. Then now,
all right,
because that's
just remove it. Just remove it, kabisa.
Okay.
No. Sorry, not the entire.
Oh.
Just that part.
No,
just that part
I highlighted.
Just store your part here. Replace, and then we'll run it. It still works actually. You're not wrong.
Yeah. So
it still
now
works.
the other part I had question was
this
one, because I don't remember the name. Is it variable? So cat becomes variable name.
Yes.
And then now, because you had given it without the df1,
yeah,
it's more of it's holding a list.
Yeah.
With the word text in it. Correct?
What do you? Sorry, it's more of holding a list.
A list with just text within that list, without
yes.
this df1. Now, which left me with a question
without
of
df1.
Yeah. So you are not calling actually the column, which now left me the question of like what?
No. Wait. You mean, or you mean to say that without putting df1, this cat is only holding something called text.
Is holding a list. Within that list, there's text.
Yeah.
No, but okay, yes. I see what you mean.
Yeah. So when it came to this, I was trying to figure out what do you mean like enumerate, like in this scenario, because to me it was confusing me. Like, okay, if I went to just doing without enumerate, it will go with text itself directly, and then I'll be able to do all these. But then now when you have put df1,
no, just do this. Just change. Just do it as you say it. Don't worry about, like, just write it. Usija, don't worry about whether it's right or wrong.
Okay. So now what was it? Yeah. So what really I was wondering was if now that was a list and enumerate text one by one.
Yeah.
Then doesn't that mean it doesn't have two values? Like the aspect of enumerate was something that I was confused about. Like, what is it doing?
So, like I said, it's simply put, it iterates. So it finishes inaendelea na hiyo ingine hivyo hivyo hadi ya mwisho.
So it goes from top to bottom, right?
So from the first text hivyo hivyo hadi ya mwisho. That's what enumerate does. So in my column text, it's going to do that. It's going to do that function. So it's going to do this function here. You see this function?
Yeah.
It's going to do it on every line.
Every line.
But like I said, the first thing I said is this is enough. But thing is, sometimes you want to get just as specific. You want to clean a specific thing.
Hold up, just a second.
Yeah.
When you're saying this is enough, is in this just for the columns, like column names?
Yes.
So this one we are going now deep into the
different. Yes.
Right.
So initially I said, if let's say we were not doing NLP, we wouldn't get into too much detail because most of the time when you're doing regression, not unless your numeric column, which kwanza it's not even possible, has your commas and inits, you usually don't do that. So this is usually useful when you're doing NLP. Like in NLP is when you use a lot of lowercase, you remove the spaces. Like you'll see down there, I've removed a lot of hashtags. So on the second code, I've really gone into detail just to show you how the subsets of the different enemies.
Okay, and then
but go on. So you want to say for X in DF1? All right, just
will that work the same way, Amma?
No, just do it.
This would be
I wouldn't say it wouldn't work, but I prefer using for simplicity. I like simple containers or variables. Like I like to use a variable that I won't need to copy paste.
I've actually figured out why this wouldn't work. Mostly
but I don't think that would work.
Mostly because when you want to go for it to go back to the same row it was,
yeah,
it will also need extra coding. I get you.
All right.
Perfect.
Sawa. You guys are okay now? Good to ask questions. Like, don't be afraid.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Like I personally learned these things the hard way. So
Lillian,
yes.
a quick one.
Yeah.
In your for loop, you have an I and a C.
Yeah.
And I can only see you using the C. What is the purpose of the I?
That's a very good question.
Or is it how the enumerate works?
Yes and no.
Is it index and value?
Yes.
Yes.
It's index.
Yes. I was about to say that. It's index.
Yeah.
So the output of enumerate is probably the index and the content. Now the content.
Yes.
Okay.
Also, it's the index whereby
yeah.
the row entry, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Because that's why I said yes and no, because when you're normally using a for loop, you don't need to say for x in something. Yeah. So sometimes you don't have to do the indexing and that stuff.
So in this case, you are not going to use the indexing, right? It will just automate itself without.
Yeah, because I've defined it. Yes.
Okay. Oh, all right.
That makes sense.
I'm interested with this enumerate.
Rico, take home. Enumerate. Hata mi leo nimebambika na enumerate.
Nilikuwa dhani tumeanza sensors.
Question.
There's a question.
Okay, that part for cat is equals to df1 into text. Before it was without the df1. Did it work?
Yeah, it works. Yeah, it works. I think he discovered why.
Okay.
Wait, he discovered why I did this.
No, I discovered something else.
Because like you are right when you said it's a list. So I changed this into a list. You were actually correct.
Yes.
And then now I put it here. Yes, you are correct. I don't know why you would want to just.
Yeah.
That's explanation.
No, the worry was because it's enumerate. I'm trying to figure out why are we going through a list that only has one value.
It doesn't have one value. The list has, when I say df1 cat, now df1 cat is in the df1 data frame. Df1 cat is the text column.
I don't think you're understanding his question. The problem is you can't call the point is you can't say cut brackets text to call a whole column. So this means you are forming a list here. As in cut is equal to text is a list that contains the word text only.
Correct.
Okay, let me see. So you're saying
it should be like that.
Although both work.
Of which
but
actually
I have reservations, but both work. But it's fine, yeah. But even this one is correct, yeah. Go on.
To point you on, actually, with it being how you had it originally, it will mean there's no need of even the for loop at all, because you will just have the C change to cut, and that directly takes up not really to cut, but to text. Because then now the new cut, even the cut.
Okay, here's the thing, guys. Here's the thing. There's so many ways of doing this. And actually, I think my method might be even harder. Like there are easy ways of, like you can actually even just do it directly without putting all this, and it would still work.
Yeah.
So this is, but enumerate is a very good function that iterates like if you have a list that you're going through a list. But even if I didn't put a for loop, bado tu ingework.
Yeah.
Like ingefanya hivi. Let me even make it easy for you. Ingefanya hivo. And then just run this as df text. It would have still produced results. So these things, it's how do you put it? it's both different ways work for different things. Some people do them, like this one is complicated, but someone else will do it at a very easy way. So you don't have to, kama enumerate haiwork, wachana na, say to me, isikusumbue. That's the point. But test it, but it works. I know I've used it in very complex scenarios, and it's really given me good results, especially in some models. You'd really use a for loop.
To say the truth, I felt like it's how programmers say any algorithm. Everything that they are having troubles explaining.
So Eriko, take that home. Next Wednesday. Mimi naenda kupambana na function yangu. I have to make it enumerate, and then pia wewe, alafu we will talk. I think we are running out of time.
Yeah, let's just finish this. But yes,
Ken needs to talk as well.
All right, for simplicity, you can actually just use, like, and I think I initially said that. For simplicity, you can just use that one line of code. So it doesn't have to be complicated, but if you have time, go through for loops. If you've never gone through for loops, they're very useful. Yeah.
Eriko, niko na wewe, don't worry.
All right, so now this part here, this is the detail of how you can clean a text, or how you can clean strings. I don't know if that makes sense. It's not necessarily a repetition, it's just that because you're doing NLP, and tweets have a lot of, like, people tweet using different, like you can tweet with hashtags, commas, exclamation marks, and stuff like that. So this is just a long way of making sure umetoa kila kitu, umebakisha tu. As you can see down here, I'm just coming back, nikiweka hiyo text, unaona imekuja kama plain word sasa, imetoa everything, like imetoa so like the first function here. So first of all, these two libraries are very important, string and RE. Yeah, so those are the two libraries. And then there's another function called define. So again, please go and check what define means. I don't think I have time to explain what define means, but it's very useful as well, like when you don't want to keep on doing the same thing over and over again. So again, just go and learn what define is. And I think later on, I'll still use it especially when I'm doing word cloud. So the whole idea here is to make text lowercase, remove text in square brackets, remove links, remove punctuations, remove words containing numbers. So the first formula here is pretty simple. So in ya kutoa lowercase. The second one here, tumetoa nini? Tumetoa / star, question mark, and all those things. And the second one, nimetoa anything yenye imekuwa linked to our website, HTTP, all this here. So ideally this, you can, if there's something I'm missing here and maybe you patch it, you can still come and remove it. So, but this is the fuller way of removing, this is the fuller way of making sure your string, especially text, is very clean. Now, there's another one I wrote down here. I know I'm just adding things into things. I just thought all this cleaning stuff are important. But if I was just doing a normal model, I wouldn't have done all these things. I would just use like one function and move on. There's something called a lambda. I don't know whether you guys know what a lambda is, but ideally a lambda is a function that you only use once and you don't want to use it again. So you apply it once and then you're done. I hope my explanation is basic and clear, but I have a feeling it's not. But you can also use lambda to clean your text. So once I've done this here, I've just come down here and use the lambda function on the, because I defined here, ilikuwa nimedefine hapa juu kama clean text. So my X here becomes clean text, and then it actually works. Because when I preview the data set, you can see the texts here. They're just strings now, or characters now. The punctuation marks are not there anymore, and all those things. So I guess the takeaway home is enumerate, define, and Lambda. But Lambda is not so complicated.
And regular expressions.
Yes. And I think with that, because Ken needs to say something, I think we might have to do EDA next week, right?
I think that would be a good idea. So next week we'll condense a bit because there'll be a lot of content. Yeah. But some of the things that we've done today will actually be some of the work that you guys will be doing in the course of the week. And you could just go an extra mile like what Ken did. You could explore EDA. So I'll share links for that so that we are ahead. So in the next class, we will definitely cover what we didn't cover earlier.
All right, so I'll just stop sharing my screen. Thanks guys for the questions, for attending. I'll try and I'll actually try and look for data. Actually, you know what? I'll try and look for a content on enumerate and then I can maybe send in the group.
That would be nice. That would be nice.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lillian.
Yes, I will do that.
That's really nice, Lillian. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lillian. Good stuff.
All right.
Erico.
Ndio.
Ni enumerate. Repeat after me. Enumerate.
Ni enumerate wewe. Kila mtu na kabila yake.
Potato. So Ken, over to you, please. I think the brainstorming session, we can do it immediately after you. Because I don't want guys to start jumping out.
Cool. Well, I think after such an awesome presentation by Lillian, it's hard to say anything thereafter. And even if you say, but anyway.
But yours looks so nice. I'm actually interested.
I hope you can see my screen.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, well, it's not something I'd prepared to present. Our dear Ayub ameniambush. But I guess the reason is not because of the code, because I haven't written much. I'll just take you through my thought process as I was scraping for the data. So that was the assignment that we had. We scraped the job postings on Twitter, and whenever you are tackling in a problem before you even go to the code, it's always good to try to understand the problem, what are you solving, what is the data source, understand the data source, the data as it is. And that's what I try to do here. What are the hashtags that are normally available? We had discussed about Ikokazi. So I went online on Twitter and searched for Ikokazi, something like this. Okay. And I could see whenever you have Ikokazi, there's also another hashtag, Ikokazi KE, which would mean that maybe a job would be posted with Ikokazi KE, not just Ikokazi. So there are many other hashtags which I put on the notebook here. Oopsie. All right, here. So there's Ikokazi KE, jobs in Kenya, Pata Kazi KE, Kazi, Job Seekers KE, Kenyan jobs daily. So that means as we are scraping data, these are all potential sources of job postings. Then additionally, I saw others like Get Hired, Jobs, Job Search, Job Posting, Recruitment, Hiring. I'm sure you've always seen guys posting on, especially bosses, I am hiring, reach in touch, this email. So of course that's another source, job sites, etc. However, since the scope for the jobs that we had were Kenyan ones, I thought if you search for Get Hired, maybe you'll get even posts from other countries. For sure you will. So how can we limit our tweets based on these ones to just limit the Twitter ones? So maybe I thought that if Twitter geotags and we have a way of finding that these are tweets from Kenya or from users whose location is Kenya, that would be one way of getting tweets that are listed jobs, and you eliminate all others and you're left with just the Kenyan ones. So We also know that there are people who post without a hashtag. I am looking for a data science developer, data scientist. Please get in touch on this email or DM me. So looking for or apply for would also be other potential sources of job postings. And we also know that you can actually get some known HR recruitment companies. Like I saw this one, vacancies at gentakenya.com. So in most instances, whenever you are seeing maybe HR at safaricom.co.ke, most probably is a job posting whereby you are notified of an advertisement, then apply on this email. So I also noted that some companies as well use Ikokazi. These were some of the top companies that use Ikokazi. And I also noted that the Ikokazi is not always used whenever there's a job posting. At times it's used when there's you are giving job tips, you know, how to dress for interviews, etc. But I guess that will come later when you are looking at the data. So that was the first step in just doing the business understanding. Then I decided, let me now go to the scraping. So I went to this step and I didn't know much. So I opened the links that Robert had sent us, and I explored those twins, and those what were they? Those Twippy and Twint. So Twippy was the first one which I realized that you need to have these tokens, which I didn't have, and to date I've not gotten them. I think it takes a week or so. However, I knew my brother had done a job based on Twippy, which required access, so I used his credentials. And I saw it's pretty fast, and I was just about to use it. Here I was not exploring job tweets, I was just seeing how it works. But then I noticed that Twippy, you are limited by I think goes back 7 days in tweets, and you can have until that 200 tweets. So I'm not sure whether that's up-to-date information or was an old information. That was a link that I was reading. So I saw Twint, and I decided, let me use Twint, because Twint, you can go forever. Yeah. So, and since this is data science, the more the data, the more accurate your model will be. So then, and Twint, the good thing is you don't require access tokens, etc. So here I installed Twint, then imported Twint, and then the code, I try to make it as simple as possible. Here, this is just specifying the search config requirements that I want 20,000 tweets. And remember, I had Ikokazi KE, etc, etc. These are the first ones. And actually here I've specified that the code approach below only takes option 1. This option 1 is these hashtags, okay? For us to get data sources using all these others, I think I would need to enhance the code. But within the time that I had, I just took the option 1. So I got this option, put the tweets here. Then I said I want to convert this data into pandas. And then I executed using this twint.run search, then specify the search parameters. Then this stored the data in this job tweets data frame, and you can actually see it here when it's running. However, it doesn't look very nicely. So that's when it's running. But when you check the data frame, just picking a sample of 5 records, you can actually see the records here. We have ID, conversation, created at, all these, the tweets, the hashtags. Yeah, these are the hashtags I was talking about. One tweet can have multiple hashtags, even Patakazi KE. Feel inspired through, you know, there's so many hashtags. So, and all these details, usernames, the day, the hour, the replies, the retweets, the actual URL, all this, okay? So by visually exploring, I thought what would be the most important tweets, columns, or the features that we would have, and that's what I created this. I identified this as the important features, okay? And one of the way of understanding what each column means, I went to the Twint project page. It's on GitHub, and on the README, under 8, they have an explanation of each and every field. So username, sorry, where is it? I think followers, favorites, etc, retweets. You can get each and every explanation of each column. And actually here they also have some sample code. This is what I used. Okay, so that's what I used to understand these columns. Then I picked the ones that I had, and I decided to drop duplicates just in case there were duplicates because of retweets and stuff. And then I expanded into CSV, and that's what I had this output. That's what I shared with Robert. Yeah, that's it.
Good stuff,
Very
man.
nice. Very nice.
What do you guys think?
Very, very nice.
And even the way it was done. I read the notebook.
The thought process.
Yes, exactly, the thought process, and I felt it very necessary for him to share with you guys. This is actually the genesis of solving a problem, especially a DS problem. You have to solve it in your mind. You have to create it in your mind before you write it in Jupyter. But if you go to Jupyter before you create everything in your mind, you're most likely to actually copy paste code you don't understand. That happens a lot. But if you actually create it in your mind, then you will be executing something. I think something that even Lillian mentioned earlier. So I thought this is really, really necessary. And when he shared this, this is actually what we need to do. And you can see it's a lot of work. So if you're really lighthearted and thought that NLP ni kazi rahisi tu hivi, then we still have a long way to go. Look at another thing that impressed me was the amount of data that, the amount of features that Twint enabled us to extract from Twitter. So if you look at that amount of data, the limit will be in our thinking. And talking about the thinking, I want us to just brainstorm quickly. I know you guys, we are running out of time, but this is really, really interesting. We could just spend another 10 minutes if we could just brainstorm on what is it that we want this chatbot to do. If I could give a lead, think of a user who's looking for a job and another user who's looking for an employee. How easy is it for this job seeker to get answers from Twitter, especially for those people is not following? So if he just makes a tweet, the immediate response would be, this guy is looking for this person. That's as simple as it gets. And you might get that this person actually follows the person offering the job, or you might get that he is not. So quickly, just, I know you guys did, especially if you did the scrapping, you have an idea of what you want this bot to do. And it has to be low-hanging fruit. Isikuwe complex, zile za $1 million solutions. Zikuwe tu zile zenye tunaweza fanya tu haraka upesi na tufurahishe watu na tupatie watu kazi. So I don't know who's going to drive this. Eunice, do you want to drive this? Brainstorming. 15 minutes.
Please let me pass, please.
Okay. Unajua mimi napenda kuambush watu. So anyway, I'm going to leave it open, but I'm going to be taking notes. So the floor is open. Just quickly, if you have an idea, we are looking for 5, from within which we will prioritize 3. So wacha nitafute jambo mwingine napenda kuchokoza sana. Eriko.
Eriko left.
Give us number 1. Let's start.
Okay, there's one I was trying to think about right now as you were speaking.
Yeah.
And first, before I do that, I would like to congratulate Kennedy.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's really embarrassing me on my side, like what I did. Like, Where that's Nini, that's high, what are they called, high rate kind of work. Great job. And then the idea I'm having is mainly, and it's mostly actually what we have been saying, like when somebody posts a job, they get notified, like in Twitter, getting a notification. Like if there's a tweet about a job, they get notified. So my thought would be, at first I had thought like probably having a bot that is able to tweet, and when it tweets, it's kind of tags. If Robert, you're the one who has posted a job and I'm looking for a job, when you post that job, it kind of tags me to that job, like check this one, you are looking for this, which now also now leaves me with the question of will everyone be getting the same message? Like kila mtu will be having to be getting tagged because you're on Twitter, which leaves the aspect of probably people can be able to say, I'm looking for this kind of jobs. So if we find this kind of tweets that have these keywords that you are looking for, let's say for example a data scientist, it tags you on that one, so it tells you, oh, this one is looking for you, something like that, I think.
So tagging.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. The floor is open. Please, if you have something in mind, just feel free. That is how we are going to build this solution.
This is Kennedy. I was also thinking on the same line that it's a bot which would be maybe on Twitter, okay, writing to people on Twitter as a reply that whenever you post that I am looking for a cleaning job, and we know from our data extraction, we are able to know the characteristics of a cleaning job, and hence we can be able to link a user with various cleaning jobs that have been posted on the same Twitter. Hence we just share some links, etc. maybe. Hence we'll be linking a potential job applicant with an employer. So it's more like matchmaking kind of a thing. Yeah.
I have a question.
On Twitter.
Sure.
To the team. Is it free or is it income generating?
Let me quote Ken. Right now we are using this to learn, but we might just have money at the end of the tunnel. That is quote unquote. And I want us, by the end we are finishing this, we come back to Ken. Do we have money at the end of the tunnel? So what I'm trying to say, Becky, is it's open. It's going to be the decision, but the priority right now is for us guys to learn and deliver a solution. If it is commercially viable, then the entire team will make the call.
Okay.
Twitter will want to buy it.
Yes.
The reason why I asked that question is because there are various ways of looking at it, and both the first two guys were right, and I like what they said. However, there's actually no however. So how I look at it is, Ken talks about matchmaking. I look at it this way. Can they get messages that are sent to their accounts first 5 days or first 1 week or first 1 month? You get it for free. You get everything. It does not categorize. It gives you everything. But now, when you start paying something like 100 bob only, okay, a month, you now, or 50 bob, you now start getting categorized. So you have interest in this and this area. So it gives you in very clean and crystal kind of packages. it tells you that for this particular category, these are the jobs, etc. And then it has another one for other. So the other, that's like a junk. So meaning that you have nothing to lose, you have everything. Then for the employer, same thing. But now you're not making money from one, you're actually making money from both. So I look at it. If at all it's a money-making venture, it can start as a free thing, just to start with.
I like that. Actually, what Becky has indicated is the best thing we can go with. It has money and it has learning.
Perfect. Perfect. So we have 3 points. I've taken notes of that, Becky. I've taken notes, Ken, and I've taken note, Rico. Any other person? We are looking for 5.
I would like to comment on what Becky has just said.
Yes, Paul.
Instead of posting the jobs to somebody, like every job they get, we could like do it like, let's say I'm in data science and we have a job in data science. You could get the post, but now when it comes to application, the application itself, you'll need to pay so that you can be able to apply. But now if I get like 10 messages, some of them are for, let's say, hospitality, some of them are for engineering, it will act like spam on my end. So I think it's a very good idea, but we'll have to check on how we can minimize the
spamming
number. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, just to respond to that, my idea was you have them categorized, just like the way Brighter Monday does it. You will say what it is that you're interested in, your areas of interest. But then again, we can specify. Do you want to get any other? So other goes to a category called other. So meaning that you're not losing, it's up to you to decide where you want to go and fetch the information. But the ones that are based on the level of prioritization, then in that case, the highest priority, the one with the highest priority, you get that as the landing page, on your landing page. Hizo zingine, utajipeleka. Utazipata tu kwa tab zingine, lakini it will be up to you.
Awesome. So there is I think we have 4, actually 5. Huh? So the first one was, sorry, did someone say anything?
Oh, sorry. Just proceed and then I'll go next after.
All right, cool. Let me just mention them. So the first one was tagging by Rico. The second one was matchmaking by Kennedy. Becky mentioned commercialization. Paul said something about spamming. We need to find a way of controlling spamming. And then Becky also mentioned something to do with subscription. So we have actually, those are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but the list can go on. And then from that list, we're going to prioritize which is going to be our priority and which one is going to control the actions we need to do in the next 1 week. Eunice, go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Ayub. I like all the ideas, actually. I think they're even in line with what I was thinking. So what I was thinking is, I use my experience that I've when looking for jobs, maybe corporate Monday or any other platform, something to get a job that you think it's in line with what you want, the years of experience or the SQL and SQL is listed, so you really feel disappointed. And can we have, as we try matchmaking the job seeker with a certain job post, can we like ask some questions on what's your background and then what are your years of experience, which what are they called, qualifications or any other thing that you've done, any certification or something, so that when we are matching them with the job, it's actually something that they will really like. This really matches with what I want. Even the years of experience, it's below what I have, or or maybe equal. Yeah, can we do that as a class?
Perfect.
If I may.
Yes,
Erika. Add to that.
I feel like with Twitter, it doesn't bring like requirements. Some of the things that are being proposed are mostly in need of requirements aspect. I think they are indicating the position and then redirecting you to another site, to a link or something like that. So I feel like if we say like people say what they have, like their skills and all that, that will only be possible probably in LinkedIn or something, because for Twitter it's just straight to the point. Like, we want this kind of person. If you want to know the JD, check this area. So I think people would more preferable be indicating what they prefer, what is their job roles they are looking for, and from that point we're able to match make them even by comparing with different tweets. If now we are mainly focusing on Twitter itself.
Perfect. Lola, you had something to say?
Yeah, just to add on to what everyone has said, it's just I was thinking we can focus on just customizing, but not to a very detailed level. Just start like general, what Eric, like based on some limitations that we may have. Like for example, we can just do in terms of say industry and say location, because you give me jobs in London and it won't help me in any way. So more of customization, but not to a very granular level. Yeah, for a start.
Perfect. So the list is growing. We are at number, I think 6 or 7. I'll just repeat that. This is a brainstorming session. So the first thing with the brainstorming is takataka yote, all the good things. Tuna mix sweetie, mawe, peremende, samaki, kila kitu. So once you mix them all, then definitely we'll prioritize and now pick what is going to be the key focus of our actions moving forward. And once you understand that, it will be very clear. I'll just go through that. But I can see, Dan, you have something to say.
I had the same thinking as to what Lana just said. Like we could, because from the data we have, which they just tweets, upon a lot of information. So I think the best thing you can do is to start with is like clustering them into, as Lana said, industries, like say data entry jobs, programming, data science, and all that, and also according to maybe location. And then now when a user like a user's going to require to sign up in order to access the service.
Okay. That is going to be a decision by us guys. We are going to decide that. But you've mentioned it, so I think it goes into that bucket of brainstorming ideas. So I've just taken note of that.
Because if we will have to do matchmaking, we'll need to get more information about the user. So they probably need to sign up and provide us with the information so that the next time they if they come back to the site another day, they will have to enter the information again. Just with the latest job market. So, and so maybe another way of someone had mentioned about a way of monetizing the project. If we would like to do that, another way would be maybe displaying ads, because I think well, we are Kenyans, not many of us. And Kenyans, we like to stuff. So I don't think it'd be highly unlikely for someone to sign up. So another way would be using ads.
Another way would be, just come again, I missed the last word.
Oh, using services like Google AdSense, we display ads to the users.
Oh, okay.
And then we make the access free to them. And if anyone wants to opt out of doing ads, then we provide them an option to pay.
Perfect. Any other ideas? Comments? Suggestion? All right.
I think.
Yes, Deno.
I think their previous ideas are great. Just to cement on a few is that in the sign-up process, we can do like a portfolio or a profile for the user, just to direct based on what data we can acquire from tweets. For example, the location and the field of which one wants to work on, and then from there we can match or match them or tag. Either of them can do, just to avoid a lot of throwing things out there. Yes.
Awesome.
Hello.
Yes, Timothy.
I was just also thinking for the chatbot, what if, since we are scrapping from Twitter, what if we put it as if it's also a user in Twitter, such that one can like tweet him the chat box and ask for jobs. Like, for example, if they ask for industry, like for example, a data scientist, it can communicate with you and tag all data scientists it has for like the first week. Then if someone can pay for it, it now can specify like their location.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. All these are very, very good ideas. And I think this is really, really good. And this is how we are building a solution. Before I just wrap up with the next actions that would actually lead us to the next class, anyone who has another idea or comment?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yes, Paul.
Okay, my question is based on if we decide to monetize this particular chatbot, how are we going to know that a particular job posting is legitimate or not legitimate? How are we going to, let's say, because we have some people, let's say they're scammers, so how are we going to know that a particular job posting is legitimate so that we can suggest to our users legitimate job postings?
Oh, that's a very good question. And I think some of these questions and further probing of these ideas, we could delve deeper and deeper as we progress. Because definitely we cannot commercialize, and we have scammers, and we will definitely be put on bad light. Yeah. So I think I've taken note of that legitimacy and authenticity of the job postings. So I'm going to put all those in one basket. And then what we are going to be doing, I know we have developers amongst us, we have ML engineers, we have websites, either as you're learning, whether you're learning it or whether you know it, you're in the same team. So your skills or lack of is going to be needed. And that is how we are going to approach this. But most, yes, Enrico?
On that question,
yes,
I've just thought probably the monetizing part we could just monetize whereby those guys who, like employers, who want they want their job, because most of these employers are just tweeting. They put it on Twitter, but it doesn't go directly to like people who do that. You're hoping that people who do those specific, who are able, who have the skills for those specific roles, follow you or follow whoever will retweet your post. So what if we can monetize here, whereby these organizations bring these tweets to us, and we are the one who directly tweet and like directly tag, push it directly to the people who need it, who like if it's a data scientist, we already know which data scientist they are. Then we send that message directly to them, not to just out there and hope somebody will get it. We send it directly to the tweet.
Awesome.
The, what are the people called on Twitter?
Twips.
Tweeters.
Tweeters. The Twitterers. So it directly sends to the Twitterers. And then now that leaves the question that I was feeling, because I think majority of what everyone has proposed can be merged to form one. Because I was looking at wondering what platform will we be working with? Guys, like, will this be a chatbot within Twitter whereby people can register within it, or it's a different platform totally by itself, which now has a different communication method of working with?
So Enrico, what you said is very, very important. How to deliver this to the anticipated users. This is going to be even further probed. I know we really cannot cover all this, but the most important thing right now we can do is to document all these ideas and put them in a structure within which we can prioritize that list. And the first item, number one, that we all are going to agree is what are these items we need to do amongst ourselves between today and Wednesday next week, and of how significant is whatever we are doing during the week going to contribute to whatever we'll be learning next week on Wednesday. So that is how we are going to churn stuff from this list. But just to give you an idea of how whatever we are building will be delivered, we are going to be building a model, and delivery of this model is going to be through API, and that API is going to be secured and using like username and password. So we could give, I'm so sure you guys have operated with systems where you're given a token and that token could expire. Who knows, we could adopt the same so that the users who are interested to plug in, we might not be the ones building all these end users. I mean, we might not be the ones building consumers to this model, or we might not be the only people. So there are so many ways of looking at it, but we cannot finish it in this discussion. So we need to brainstorm on how we are going to do our prioritization of all these ideas, and of importance would be which part of these ideas we will learn and implement, so that as we move forward, we know that we are learning what we are going to build and possibly what we are going to commercialize. Sawa sawa. So if you guys allow me, I'll assume there isn't any other person, but if there is, we are still on the WhatsApp group. We will contribute there. I want to go through all the ideas. Number one, tagging. Number two, matchmaking. Number three, commercializing via subscription. That was Becky. And then Paul, there is controlling spam. And when you're talking about spam, we started with an idea of a chatbot that does jobs. And we all know that there is machine learning models that machine learning engineers build to control spam. So already we are looking at some more work. So Paul brought up the idea of spamming. How do we manage that? And then Dan and Lorna mentioned about generalizing and trying to cluster based on either a specific industry or a specific region. And then also made a tip there. What if we made it free and did adverts instead. And Paul mentioned a question on legitimacy, of which Eric proposed of a different route within which we can mitigate that legitimacy question that Paul has raised. So from that list of ideas that we have generated today, I will push through that list on the WhatsApp group with a proposed priority based on our next class. And this is what you're going to cover in the next class. In the next class, Lillian will probably just spend the first 30 minutes to finish up what she had not finished. And then we will go to pre-processing tasks. And then we will hopefully generate the first model, because there is so much that needs to be done. We just need to learn how to pick the most important concepts and learn that and move forward, and until eventually we will deliver a working model. There is nothing preventing us from revisiting our steps and improving through the techniques we all have either had or have experienced, hyperparameter tuning, picking different algorithms. So the first priority is how fast can we build a working model that can achieve whatever task that we are going to pick. So between today and Monday, we always say that Monday is our submission dates. Between today and Monday, number one, we should have prioritized what task, we should have picked what task you're going to do from all these ideas. And then I will communicate based on whatever idea we've picked as priority one. I will propose the content for Wednesday and even the work that needs to be done. So what I see is based on the data that Ken has shared from using Twins, there is more columns. But what I noticed from the data that we had collected, there is a lot of null values for retweets. Whether or not those will be important is going to be guided by whatever we pick. So we need to pick something by Monday latest. So I'll push it today. You think through it. Let's discuss in the WhatsApp group. And then by Monday, we know this is what we are picking. And it's going to be either, say, a classification problem from this idea. And this is how this classification problem is going to fit into the entire picture. And then on Wednesday, we are going to finish up with visualization and data cleaning to enumerate further, and then we do our first model, or we learn something using spacing. So that is the plan moving forward. It is too wordy. Don't worry. I'll try and get time and put it in a document and share with you guys in the WhatsApp group. And for those people who may have felt a bit lost when people are talking about enumerating, Z-score, left skewed, right skewed, all those things, usijali hata kidogo. For as long as you stick here, it will come to make a lot of sense. Don't go anywhere. Just stick in this group. Kama hakuna swali lingine, I think we'll call it an evening. And you wait for my update. I will update it. You guys give me by tomorrow midday.
Ayub.
Yes, Dennis.
Before we go, I really wanted to say thumbs up to Lillian and Kennedy.
Mm-hmm.
They have set up at a very high speed. Some of us need to gear up to match there, but good work. Yeah, that's it.
Perfect. Who else has something to say?
A round of applause to everyone. I've had several people. I feel like I do want to meet them in person.
Nice.
I wanted to say something for those ones who are asking. We'll send a notebook next week after the session next week. I think, yeah, it will be better to have it together with the ED. Yeah.
Thank you, Lillian.
Right.
I'd also want to say something, Ayub.
Yes, go ahead, Eunice.
There's something that Lillian said about the industry norm. So just to, okay, even if it's an industry norm, thank you so much, Lillian, that you tried explaining some things to those people who don't even know what is the industry norm. And I would urge us, even if it's an industry norm, we let people know it's an industry norm, but we explain so that those who don't even know it is, they actually get the sense. So thank you so much, Lillian, and looking forward to the next.
Awesome.
Thanks, Eunice. I'm sure you know a lot about industry norms. Yeah, thanks.
By the way, Eunice is a practicing statistician.
The industry norms.
Just to double tap the sentiments that have been shared.
Okay.
Many thanks to Lillian. You're such a good teacher. Thumbs up. To Ken, was it Ken?
Yes, Kennedy.
Actually, I've been really struggling with Tweepy to get more than 5,000 tweets. So I've been amazed with what you've done. And please share the notebook.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
I'll even test twins.
Okay. All right. I hope for those guys who didn't have a chance to speak, I hope it's your silence is we are together and we are learning together. And all of us, we are in the same group. So if you feel like reaching out to Ken, please do. If you feel like you need to pull up your socks, please do. Because we didn't start this because it's a joke. We started this because it's serious. So serious people act like serious people. They act abnormally. Mulisikia mutai. Na kwa hiyo abnormality, I think I rest the day. May you all have a good evening and keep the fire burning. Until next week, Wednesday. Be safe, man. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.
See you to everyone next Wednesday.
Bye.